Welcome to StopTheBadges Weekly Nightly News. I'm Porter Vaughn, and today is November 1st, 2015. Tonight we're going to take a look at Christie, former governor of New Jersey, presidential candidate for 2016, and a man on board with what I've come to call the change regimen. He promises change in one direction and will change around on you into another. For example, education. He presents a simple, basic plan for his change on education, saying he wants to make it better for kids, he wants to have better teachers, he wants to have more kids going to charter schools and be able to go to college and become ready and qualified, and he wants to open up options for schools in failing districts. So unfortunately what his plan doesn't directly say, but I mean it basically outlines, is teachers' tenure will be based upon not time but successfulness, basically their pass rate. And teachers that are failing students, their tenure will be a risk. They will no longer have that protected level of their career, their time in their employment. But instead it's the time that they've been passing kids, so quite literally pushing kids through, almost a standard where you must have 90% or more of your kids to pass if you want to keep your job. If you're not graduating enough kids, you're not pushing through enough boots, then we're not going to have you on our recruiting team. And I mean, that's not ever going to be a good plan for the kids. That's, as far as they might get qualified, they might get a diploma, they might be able to go to college, but it'll devaluate degrees or even diplomas even furthermore. Standardized testing will, then just collect everybody in. If you can put everybody in the same bubble, say they have the same certificate, it looks like you've made a whole bunch of people achieve an accomplishment. You've just invalidated it entirely. So now you might have, and now we do have, a bunch of people with bachelor's, associates, master's degrees even, who can't find a job because they have no experience, because they got it online, because it's not valued. The education itself is not as hard to obtain. And that's exactly what Christie wants to do with our public system for kids not even out of high school, high schoolers, elementary schoolers, middle schoolers. So on that front of education, I kind of hope for something more. Less federal involvement, less Common Core type style, more the community, more, a teacher's tenure is not the issue, because while it is harder to fire teachers with tenure, it's not impossible. You can get, that's when the community comes in, that's when examples of problems that have occurred with that teacher come in. You don't need to have a system that is ready to wipe out every teacher if they're not in compliance with the students and the students' parents. And anyway, as far as foreign policy, he does not really have one. It just says, and again, I'm using candidates' campaign pages, mostly their stances on the issues, to determine their stances on the issues here. So this isn't a quote out of a magazine or what he said in an interview. This is actually his front. This is his platform that he presents to the world on a daily basis, 24/7. Is that we stand with our ally. Our word is our bond. We stand with our friends. We are the arsenal of democracy, and we make everybody else free. Needless to say, go to war with our enemies, protect our allies. So without saying anything one way or the other, it sounds like a future with Christie involves both occupation in Iraq as well as Ukraine. And of course he wants to strengthen our military here. Again, another opponent that talks about strengthening our military here and strengthening us economically by balancing our budget. Moving on. How are we going to balance our budget? Under Christie, who knows? While he doesn't necessarily say he would repeal Obamacare entirely, say he would pull back the 30-hour mandate so that we could hope to get back employers willing to employ full-time employees, and we'd shift away from this part-time workforce that we have in the country right now, which does exist, and because of Obamacare and the 30-hour mandate and health insurance that has been forced upon us. So his plan is to remove the 30-hour mandate and also create working incentives. Incentives for people who, and we're not striving, we're not struggling to have these groups of individuals in the workforce. So this is interesting to me. It's to create, to eliminate payroll taxes from workers under the age of 25, so workers new to the workforce, and workers nearing retirement over the age of 62. I can understand if you're in your last 3 years before you retire, you're about to retire, eliminating payroll taxes, that extra little bit of savings for the last 3 years might help. It'd be a nice little bump. But kids who are entering the workforce are motivated to enter the workforce to make money. And taxes is a big part of that. So if we're going to eliminate that until they're 25, the first 9 years, if anything, we're just going to create a platform where they start paying taxes at 25, and then what? They have huge depression about working. They want to find better jobs. They want to find a way to make more money. And while youth might try to present that as a motivational tool, it's really a chokehold on society. And it will be a chokehold on 25-year-olds who now have to pay taxes and can't afford anything anymore because there goes 10, 15, 20% of their paycheck, depending upon where our taxes are at that point in time and what taxes he's paying. Not only that, but then you put the entire tax burden on the 25 to 62 age group, which it doesn't seem like a lot, but in the first 9 years of the working force, doesn't seem like a lot, but if now it's just from the age 25 to 62, and it's the last 37 years of us, you've just taken away a fifth of the total 46 years. So we're looking at a great percentage of the workforce, of the tax revenue, gone, and now repositioned on us. So what will we be accountable for? Our tax accountability be? Will it be higher? Because he didn't present a plan to reduce the IRS, to reduce our tax accountability, to in any way actually balance the budget other than to say he's capable of balancing budgets. And then if we're going into wars at the same time, not only that, those are foreign wars. If we take a look at our border, Christie's plan to fix our border problem is a fence in urban areas, deploying DEA and FBI and ATF agents down to Border Patrol, which means they get per diem and money and combat pay and relocation allowances, and we might have to set up a bunker down there and a base down there and housing facilities or pay for hotel rates. All of that's federal travel money, all of that's federal incentives, all of that's money out of the federal budget. Just moving a person to the next city over to work there for the day and come back costs money. So when we're talking about a massive upscale in our force along the border, with cooperating agencies like Border Patrol and the FBI and ATF and ICE, that's going to be even more money. Everybody's going to want operation expenses. Everybody's going to want a place to set up. Everybody's going to want their department heads being briefed, and intercoms and satellite chat on the iPad. I mean, it's government military waste, and we don't need it, especially if we're going to put fences in urbanized areas. What about the middle of nowhere in the desert where they can just cross? I mean, we've seen, here's some shots right now, the border patrol, or the border fence open all last year, 2014, just completely unfinished sections of the fence, gate checkpoints that were just closed down, abandoned, agents were sent home. If we occupy those, they could just walk around those. It's more about not creating the environment, not nurturing the environment where immigration is such an issue for us. But he just wants to build a fence and pay a bunch of people to go down there, and at the same time fix our budget and send us to war in Ukraine and Iraq, and make it so 15 to 20% of our workforce doesn't have to pay taxes, and then of course make it so that teachers who aren't willing to pass kids in class will be fired. All in all, I do not agree with any of these platforms or any of these plans, and none of it seems to be a change in the direction we want to go. It seems to be a continuance in the change we've already been making over the past 12 years. But that is all I got for tonight. This has been our candidate, Christie. Hopefully not our future Commander-in-Chief. And thanks for watching. Stop the Badges Weekly Nightly News. Have a great evening.